Imagine a chilly morning in the heart of San Francisco, where the city's hustle and bustle are in full swing. The streets are alive with the rhythmic chaos of honking horns, hurried footsteps, and distant chatter. Office workers clutch their coffee cups like lifelines, rushing off to their next meeting, while tourists marvel at the towering skyscrapers reaching into the clouds. Among the sea of faces, one man stands out, not for his suit or his success, but for his worn clothes and tired eyes that speak of a life spent on the margins. This is John, a man who once had dreams like everyone else, but whose circumstances led him to this very street corner. His face is etched with the lines of struggle, and his hands are rough from countless days of survival. Near a lamppost, he holds a modest sign that reads, "Just $1 can help." His voice is soft, almost drowned by the noise of the city, but there's a certain humility in the way he approaches strangers. "Excuse me, sir, could you spare $1?" Most people pass by without a glance, their minds too preoccupied to notice him. But John doesn't give up. He knows that every interaction carries a glimmer of hope, no matter how slim. Today, however, something feels different. A man walks toward him, casual yet exuding quiet confidence. He's not flashy, just another passerby among the hundreds. But there's something in his demeanor, the calm way he moves through the crowd, that catches John's attention. Summoning his courage, John approaches the man with the same request he's made countless times before. "Excuse me, sir," he begins, his voice steady but hopeful. "Could you spare $1?" The man stops, something many others don't bother to do. He looks at John, not with pity, but with genuine interest, as if truly seeing him, not just as a homeless man, but as someone with a story. For a moment, the bustling city fades into the background, and it's just the two of them standing there. Neither John nor anyone around them realizes that this seemingly unassuming stranger is no ordinary passerby. He's Sundar Pichai, the CEO of one of the most powerful tech companies in the world, a man whose decisions shape the future of billions. But here, on this busy street corner, titles and wealth seem irrelevant. It's a chance encounter between two vastly different lives about to intersect in the most extraordinary way. With a warm yet curious smile, Sundar Pichai responds, not with immediate action, but with words that signal something far greater than John had asked for. What happens next will leave everyone in shock. The air around them seems to shift as Sundar pauses, looking at John with an expression that is both thoughtful and kind. In a city where people rush past each other without a second glance, this moment feels like a rare break in the rhythm, a fleeting instance where two lives so different connect. John, unsure of what to expect, watches as Sundar doesn't immediately reach for his wallet. Instead, he leans in slightly, his voice calm but genuinely curious. "Why $1?" he asks, his tone free of judgment. The question is simple, but it catches John off guard. Most people either hand him a coin or walk away without a word, yet here is someone who takes the time to engage, to ask why. John hesitates, his worn-out sneakers shuffling on the concrete. "Well," he begins, his voice trembling slightly, "it's enough to get me a cup of coffee. It's enough to feel human for a moment." His words are raw, honest, and carry the weight of someone who's been overlooked for far too long. Sundar nods, absorbing every word, his gaze unwavering, as if peeling back the layers of John's story with each passing second. "What's your story?" Sundar asks next, his voice soft but commanding attention. It's not the kind of question John is used to. People rarely care to hear his story, let alone ask about it. For a moment, John considers brushing it off, giving the same rehearsed line he's told 100 times before. But something in Sundar's demeanor, a genuine interest, feels disarming. So, John begins to speak. He talks about his early years, growing up in a small town with big dreams. He shares how he once had a stable job, a family, and a sense of purpose. But life, as it often does, threw him unexpected curveballs. A medical emergency drained his savings, and a series of layoffs left him without a steady income. One setback led to another until he found himself here, on this corner, asking strangers for spare change. As John speaks, The city's noise seems to fade into the background. Sundar listens intently, nodding occasionally, but never interrupting. He asks questions not out of skepticism, but out of a genuine desire to understand. "What did you do before?" he asks. "What are your skills? What are your dreams?" John is taken aback. Dreams? It's been so long since anyone asked him about dreams that he almost doesn't know how to answer. But as he looks into Sundar's eyes, he feels a flicker of something he hasn't felt in years. Hope. "I used to work with my hands," John says after a pause. "I was good at fixing things, machines, electronics, you name it. I always wanted to build something that mattered." Sundar's expression shifts ever so slightly, as if a spark of inspiration has ignited within him. He glances at John's calloused hands, steady despite their roughness, and smiles. "Building things that matter," Sundar repeats, almost testing the words on his tongue. The moment feels surreal to John, as though he stepped into a dream where someone finally sees him, not just as a man asking for $1, but as a human being with potential. He notices that Sundar hasn't once looked at his watch or tried to rush away. Instead, he's given John something far more valuable than money: his time and attention. As their conversation continues, passers-by begin to notice the unusual scene. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, deep in conversation with a homeless man. The crowd grows, watching in stunned silence. Little do they know, this interaction is about to take an extraordinary turn. The crowd watches, curiosity replaced with awe, as Sundar reaches into his pocket, not for his wallet but for his phone. With a few quick taps, he makes a call. "I need a team to meet me here," he says, his tone professional but urgent. "Yes, right here at this location." He hangs up and turns back to John, whose confusion is evident. "What's happening?" John asks, his voice trembling. Sundar smiles gently. "You said you used to work with your hands. You have skills, John. Skills that shouldn't go to waste. I'm going to give you a chance to use them again." Before John can respond, a sleek black car pulls up to the curb. Two people step out, members of Sundar's team, one holding a tablet, the other a notebook. Sundar introduces them with the ease of someone orchestrating big plans daily.
"This is my team," he says.
"They're going to help you get back on your feet." The next few moments unfold like a whirlwind. Sundar asks John more about his skills, jotting down every answer. "You said you're good with machines and electronics. We have training programs and workshops at Google that could use someone with your expertise. But first, we're going to get you cleaned up, fed, and set up with temporary housing." John's eyes widen. "Are you serious? All this for me?" Sundar nods. "Everyone deserves a second chance, John. You just needed someone to believe in you." By now, a crowd has fully gathered, some recording the moment on their phones, others simply watching in stunned silence. The scene feels almost surreal, one of the most powerful men in the world personally taking steps to change a stranger's life. But Sundar isn't done yet. He turns to the crowd, addressing them as though delivering a keynote speech. "Every person we pass on the street has a story," he says. "Somewhere along the way, they face challenges that many of us will never understand. But what if, instead of looking away, we looked closer? What if we offered opportunities instead of judgment?" His words resonate deeply, not just with the onlookers but with John, who feels an overwhelming wave of emotion. The team, the resources, the chance to rebuild his life. It's almost too much to process. But one thing is clear. This moment is real. As Sundar wraps up the conversation, he places a reassuring hand on John's shoulder. "You've taken the first step by sharing your story. Now let's see where we can take it from here." The crowd erupts into applause, a rare and genuine show of humanity in the middle of a busy city. For the first time in years, John feels not just seen, but valued. And as the team ushers him into the car, preparing to take him to a nearby center to start his journey, one thought echoes in his mind. Today, everything changed. Little does John know, this is just the beginning of a transformation that will not only alter his life, but inspire countless others around the world. The days following the extraordinary encounter were transformative. John, who had spent years feeling invisible, now found himself at the center of opportunities he never thought possible. Sundar's team moved quickly to ensure that every promise made was kept. First, John was taken to temporary housing, arranged through a partnership with local outreach programs. This wasn't just a place to stay, it was a lifeline. For the first time in years, he had a bed to call his own and a roof over his head, igniting a small flicker of hope. Within days, Sundar's team arranged for John to meet at Google's campus, a place he had only heard about in passing. The gleaming buildings, vibrant murals, and cutting-edge technology felt like another world compared to the streets he had called home. But what struck John most was the warmth of the people who greeted him. He wasn't treated like an outsider. He was welcomed as someone with potential, someone whose skills and story mattered. John was enrolled in a specialized training program tailored for individuals with unique challenges. The program offered hands-on workshops in electronics, engineering, and problem-solving. It had been years since John had worked with machines, but his old skills began to return, almost like muscle memory. He thrived in the environment, surprising even himself. Sundar's vision for John wasn't just about employment. It was about rebuilding his confidence, dignity, and sense of purpose. As John progressed in the program, Sundar invited him to speak at a company event, sharing his journey with employees and stakeholders. Standing on that stage, John felt both nervous and proud as he recounted the moment he'd asked Sundar for $1 and how that interaction had changed his life. The audience gave him a standing ovation. Many moved to tears. The story quickly went viral, inspiring people around the world. Donations poured into organizations supporting homelessness and workforce reintegration programs. Meanwhile, John's life continued to evolve. Upon completing the training program, he was offered a full-time position at Google, working on a project that aligned perfectly with his skills, designing and maintaining equipment for outreach centers across the country. The project's mission was to bring technology and resources to underserved communities, a cause that resonated deeply with John. But it wasn't just about the job. John secured permanent housing, reconnected with family members, and began to feel a renewed sense of purpose. Months later, he found himself back on the streets of San Francisco, not as a homeless man, but as a volunteer, helping others who were in the same position he once was. He carried with him not just a story, but a message of hope, showing that even the smallest act of kindness can ripple outward in unimaginable ways. As for Sundar, he remained humble, often saying, "It was never about me." John had the potential all along. He just needed someone to believe in him. For those who witnessed that moment on the street, Sundar's actions serve as a powerful reminder that leadership isn't just about innovation or success. It's about humanity. As the story continued to spread, it became a beacon of hope, reminding people that even in the busiest moments of life, there's always time to stop, listen, and act. And for John, that single interaction was the spark that reignited a life full of promise.